Hey, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Who wants to hear about small town Washington? Who doesn't, right? Washington is right here in case you're 11 years old or inebriated. Washington, like my current home state of Oregon, has about 75% of the state's residents on the western portion of the state. Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, they're all right here on the Puget Sound. The eastern portion of the state is kind of sparse when it comes to Homo sapiens. Other than Spokane, eastern Washington is nothing but small towns. Some of these small towns look amazing and you think they'd be part of a movie set. You know those romantic comedies that Julia Roberts was in like 10 years ago? You expect her to come running out of one of the shops, say something like, "I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy looking for a back rub." Ugh, holy hell, I gotta quit watching the Hallmark Channel late at night. Anyway, moving on. Washington also has some not so great towns. And of course, seeing that only my videos that are negative get any real views, that's what today's list is all about. So sit back, kick off those Timberland boots, and watch my top 10 worst small towns in Washington. Number 10, Tushy, Washington. Tushy is a small town of only about 450 residents near the eastern Oregon-Washington border. Tushy is far from being one of the safer towns in Washington. While you're there, in the town limits, you have about a 1 in 22 chance of being involved in a crime, making the crime rate about 71% higher than the national average. I found that stat alarming, considering the place is only like 8 blocks by 8 blocks. It's not that big. This is a cute little roadside town that looks like time stopped around 1987 here. Not many kids stay here after high school. Tushy doesn't offer much to anyone except some farming jobs and a place to get some gas on your way to Walla Walla. And I heard they have good fishing. Number 9, Basin City, Washington. Basin City is home to about 1,000 residents. It's located just 45 minutes north of Kennewick, Washington. This is just a little blip on the civilization radar in the middle of miles and miles of farmland. This is the type of place you live if you're an avid book reader, because there's nothing going on outside your front door except for failed dreams and despair. They aren't big on education here, at least it seems that way. According to AreaVibes.com, the average school test score in Basin City is about 55% lower than the national average. The unemployment rate in Basin City is 195% higher than the national average. Good times in Basin City. Number 8, North Moses Lake, Washington. North Moses Lake is not a good place to be if you care about your safety at all. There's only about 4,100 residents here, and the average crimes reported is about 3,800. That's almost 1 crime per resident. While you're in North Moses Lake, you have a 1 in 26 chance of being involved in a crime yourself. The overall crime rate here is 34% higher than the national average, according to AreaVibes.com. If you're an older person, don't move here. Only about 8% of the residents are over 60. There's a whole bunch of young punks living here. You will spend an exorbitant amount of time yelling at people to turn down their music and get off your lawn. Number 7, Desert Air, Washington. Desert Air is not the place you want to be long term, unless you're retiring. There's hardly any employment opportunities. The only ones that exist within the town are that at the golf course that runs, down the middle of town, and the other ones at the airport. They also have a local gas station. If you don't have a job, place is too far away to get a job anyplace else. It'd be a horrible commute. The income per capita is $17,000, which is about 47% lower than the state average. This place is weird. It's in the middle of nowhere on the Columbia River. And it's like someone had the land, built a golf course around an airstrip, and when they finished, someone told them how much it would cost to do the landscaping. They threw their hands in the air and said, "Screw it, we'll build cheap houses." And you have desert air. Number 6, Keller, Washington. Keller, Washington is a very small town in Ferry County with only about 200 residents. The population is so sparse here, the school only has 3 teachers that teaches grade K through 12. That's it, all of them. There's 1 grocery store, a post office that's only open 4 hours a day. The closest gas station is 35 miles away in Cooley, where the Cooley Dam is, and the closest Walmart is an hour and a half away. And by Washington standards, that's a tragedy. This place looks really nice from the main road if you're going really fast in your car. When you slow down or turn onto a smaller street, you realize this place was designed to look good from a distance or with the blur of a speeding car. And there's an odd number of broken down cars in front yards in this town. Number 5, Granger, Washington. Granger is home to just under 4,000 residents, 43% of them being under the age of 18, and unfortunately for all of them, education isn't very high up on their to-do list in Granger. There are 3 public schools, an elementary, middle, and a high school, and their test scores are about 49% lower than the national average, and only about 45% of the residents have graduated high school. I was in the Army with a guy from Granger years ago. We're at Fort Lewis, now it's Lewis McChord Joint Base. It used to be Fort Lewis. Anyway, I took him home one weekend, and they had a church there called Our Lady of Guadalupe. Where I grew up, we had an Our Lady of Guadalupe not far from my house. I didn't know they franchised churches. That was amazing. They must be very profitable. And stop typing. I know they aren't franchised. Number 4. Loon Lake, Washington. Loon Lake is a bad place to go in search of some affordable lakefront property. While a majority of the residents do live right off the lake, most of the affordable homes are mobile homes. A real house will go for no less than $250,000, with a good one on the water is in the $500K neighborhood, and given the income per capita is only about $25,000, a mobile home is usually everyone's first option. You know, nobody's ever jealous of a guy in a trailer till the lake starts to flood. Then he just hooks up and leaves. The overall crime rate in Loon Lake is about 67% higher than the national average. That's not good. And it's really far away from everything. Number 2. Soap Lake. Soap Lake is a city which is right next to Soap Lake. Imagine that. Soap Lake has their middle school, their high school in one building, and their elementary school is in another building about 100 yards away. Their education system is pretty bad. The average test score is about 63% lower than the national average. Only about 75% of the residents have graduated high school. The average rent asked in Soap Lake is 43% lower than the national average, and that's still too much. And the poverty level in Soap Lake is about 72% higher than the national average, so that's not good. I saw a video about Soap Lake a couple years ago. The guy in the video talked about how much he hated living there when he did live there. At the end of the video, he just simply said, if you live in Soap Lake, move. And the video went dead. It was great. And number 1, Rock Island, Washington. Rock Island is about a 15-minute drive south of Wenatchee along the Columbia River. However, despite the name, it's not actually an island. The town was incorporated in 1930, but actually before that it was called Hammond and later Power City after being settled in the 1800s, but I guess that didn't stick or something like that. I guess Hammond wasn't working for them, so they decided to go with the whole island theme. And before you do, stop typing. I know they didn't name it after an island theme. It was some nearby rapids referred to as Rock Island. I think the island is still there. There's a little island called Rock Island, but the rapids are now gone because of some kind of dam they have there. Anyway, the city is home to about 790 residents as of the 2010 census. The income per capita is around $17,000 a year. That's not good. That's about 42% lower than the national average. The overall crime rate in Rock Island is about 87% higher than the national average. You got less than 800 people in this town. Crime rate shouldn't be that big. You should be able to know who all the criminals are when you only got 800 people in the town. If you see Rock Island while you're traveling down the Columbia, just keep going. Alright, so that's my top 10 worst small towns in Washington State. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. You know, in reality, Washington is a beautiful state. They just got some pretty run-down little towns. The people are decent people for the most part. Just some of these towns, for whatever reason, maybe there's no jobs, whatever, they're just a little run-down and have some bad things going on there. But for the most part, Washington is a great state. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.